You are what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for.
Alright, let's get into today's video. I've got some fun Gina K products to share with you, and I'm going to create some projects. So first up, with all of your Gina K Designs orders, with a purchase of $75 or more before shipping and taxes and coupons, you get a free incentive set. So this is one of my favorite things about Gina K Designs. Every month the incentive set changes, and it is 100% free, and it'll automatically ship with your order. So this month our stamp set is Forget-Me-Nots. There are some cute sentiments and a very gorgeous, delicate floral. Alright, now we have the Breath of Sunshine card kit. I'm super excited about that, and all of the contents are listed here. We get 2 6x8 stamp sets, a stencil, coordinating dies, and a free die set gift. The first stamp set is Harvest Silhouettes. The second one is Breath of Sunshine. We have a cobblestone stencil, the coordinating dies for the Harvest Silhouettes, and then we also get this beautiful free gift with an Autumn Leaves die set, and this has the shadow layer and the delicate detail layer. So one of the other products that I picked up during this release, I wanted to share with you because it's so gorgeous. This is called the Nature Walk stamp set, and it has these big, beautiful mushrooms and trees and a beautiful butterfly, a bird, some greenery, and I also grabbed the coordinating die set for that. And then lastly, I picked up some poly glaze foiling sheets and a coordinating die set that was just released for this older Gina K Designs stamp set. This is the Skeleton Leaves stamp set, and you can see that it is very well loved. I have had this for quite some time and I've used it many times. I really love this stamp set, and I love that Gina K came out with coordinating dies for this set. And then we have Polyglaze. I've never used this yet, so maybe that will be for a future video. So for today, we're going to make some cards with our card kit. For my first card, I've got a sheet of Gina K Designs heavy base weight cardstock. This is beautiful smooth cardstock. I love this for stamping and ink blending. So I've got this sheet popped into my MISTI, and I'm going to use the Breath of Sunshine stamp set, and I'm going to stamp a bunch of these images. I think I may have mentioned earlier that the die set was for the Harvest Silhouettes, but in fact, the die set coordinates with this stamp set. So I've got some pumpkins stamped here in Sweet Mango, Honey Mustard, and Sea Glass. And then I stamped the stems of the pumpkin, and this is a 2-step stamp. And so I stamped all of these, and then I grabbed the die set and realized that I stamped the wrong stem on my pumpkins. That big tall stem is supposed to go with the big tall pumpkin. So I just flipped my cardstock around, and I'll restamp those, and then I'm going to use a small acrylic block to stamp my little stems. I just found it easier. So that's perfect. I got those all stamped with some warm cocoa ink and some grass green ink. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the basket from this stamp set. Now this idea came to me in one of Gina K Designs live Stampin' Chats. Tom was talking about wood graining on a basket, and I thought, wouldn't that look really cool? So I grabbed some Gina K craft ink, and I inked up my basket and stamped it. And then I grabbed some warm cocoa ink, and I'm just going to use the edge of the ink pad, something that we've learned from Gina K Designs, and I'm just going to swipe it across that stamped image. And then you can see those harsh lines that I get. I want that because I want it to look like panels of wood. And I think I achieved it. So I stamped that down, and then I went back one more time with a few extra little strokes, just using the edge of my ink pad and swiping across that basket. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to close the door of the MISTI and press. And look at all that beautiful texture we get, and created a wood grain basket. So thank you for that, Tom. That was a wonderful idea. I'm going to grab the sentiment from this set that says "So Very Thankful," and there's a coordinating die for this as well. So I've just stamped that with black ink, and now I'm going to cut out all of my images with the coordinating dies. So I've just got some low tack tape. This is mint tape. It's my favorite tape for using with my die cuts because it doesn't rip my paper, so I love that. I'll run this through, get all my pieces cut out, and now we're going to work on a background. I'm going to grab that cobblestone stencil and tape it to some cardstock and grab a Gina K Designs soft stone dye ink, and I'm just going to lightly dust it over my cardstock. So when I'm working over the stencil, it doesn't look like anything, but when I peel the stencil away, you can see that light, subtle background. So I've got a Gina K Designs, I think this is Ocean Mist. I think this is an Ocean Mist card base. So I'm just going to score that to give us an A2 size top folding note card, and I'll just use my Teflon bone folder to crease those edges so I get a nice sharp crease on my card base, and then my panel will fit perfectly on the front of my card. Now, I love to use craft foam on my cards. I think it provides a nice even raised dimension. So I have these little sheets of craft foam in my drawer on top of my desk, ready to go when I need them for my cards. So I just cut out a piece, just roughly around the edges, getting enough of a piece that's going to fit behind my panel and not stick out. And I'll use some Gina K Connect glue and glue that foam to my panel, and then glue both of those pieces to the front of my card base. Now you want to put something heavy on this while the glue dries so that everything dries nice and flat and the glue doesn't sort of peel up. So now I'm going to take all of my images and sort of play around with the placement until I'm happy with them. Once I figure out where I want them, I'm going to glue everything down. And I just tuck all those pumpkins into my little basket here. And then I grab some Gina K Designs shaker strips. Now this is perfect for my sentiment because it fits behind it perfectly, allowing me to pop it up and not worry about it sagging. So I just popped up my little sentiment beneath my basket. And the last thing I want to do here is add some matte gold pearls. These are just some pearls I have in my stash. I have tons of different gems and things, and I just dig through them and find something that matches my project. So I've got a couple of gems scattered around my sentiment here. I'll use my liquid glue and my jewel picker and glue those little pieces down, and here's a look at our finished card. This was so much fun to create, and again, I have to give credit to Tom for this wood graining technique idea. I also love the idea of a blue or turquoise pumpkin. I just think it's so much fun and different than what you would normally see. All right, moving right along into card project number 2. For this card, I have another piece of Gina K Designs cardstock, and I'm grabbing some ink cubes. I have the Gina K Designs medium, light, and dark lilac that I'm going to use to stamp this flower. This flower is also from the Breath of Sunshine stamp set, and I'm going to stamp the large sort of sunflower looking thing. I think it's supposed to be a sunflower, but I wanted to do something purple because purple's my favorite color. So I'm just inking this up really well. I'm going to stamp both of those florals with the medium lilac ink, and then I'm going to stamp the details with the dark lilac ink. So this is a 2-step stamp for the outer image, and then there are some small images to stamp in the center of the flowers to get the stamen. So for the small one, there's a sort of a little oval, so this will create a pretty cone flower. So I stamped that with Gina K Designs honey mustard ink, and then I stamped the detail layer with Gina K Designs warm cocoa ink. And then I went to the larger flower and stamped the center again with the honey mustard, and then I used a different pattern for the center of this, the little dots instead of the crisscross that I used on the coneflower. So I liked that better. I went and stamped the little dots on top of the coneflower as well. I went ahead and stamped a few green leaves using Gina K Grass Green ink, and then that's going to be it for the stamping. I'm going to take all of this to my die cut machine and get all these pieces cut out. Next, I grab a piece of grass green cardstock, and I'm going to score this and create a gatefold card. So I'm going to score a piece of cardstock that's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I'll score at 2 1/8, and then I'll turn my paper around and score at 2 1/8 on the other side. and then I'll crease my folds, and if I've done this correctly, then my two panels will meet up in the center, creating a gatefold card. I'll just crease down those edges. I decided to cut a piece of cardstock to matte layer this, and I cut it at 3 3/4 by 5 and then cut that in half. So I end up with two pieces that measure 1 7/8 by 5, and now I'm going to put them back together and I'm going to stamp a background. Now throughout this process I've been using a little mouse pad for any stamping. I find that I get a better result with a mouse pad. It just gives me a little bit of give. So I've gone ahead and stamped the center of the flower just to create like a little polka dot background with the light lilac ink. I wanted to add more to this background, but staying in that same color family. So what I did was ink up the little dots from the inside of the flower. I used the light lilac ink again, and I stamped it off and then stamped it onto my paper, creating a second generation stamp. And I just found that to be a nice subtle look, and it helps you stretch the ink pads that you have so you end up with more of a color palette. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that looks. Now I'm going to adhere this down to the front of my gatefold card and put one piece on each side. I decided I wanted to pop up my flowers, so I have little foam squares here that I put on the back of my flowers, and I'm just going to kind of overlap the gatefold and make sure that everything will open and close easy without any interference. But I also wanted those flowers to kind of lock the front of the card together. So I adhered the leaves straight down to the card base and popped up all the flowers. Then I inked up this sentiment from the stamp set that says "Have a sunny birthday," and I thought that was fun. And I just stamped that right on the card base in the bottom corner. Last thing I'm going to do is take a panel of white cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5 and put that in the center of my card so that we have a space for writing. And there we go. This card project is complete, and our little elements lock together on the front to close up that card. Just a fun and different way to create a card without being overly complicated. All right, here's a close-up look at that finished card. Have a sunny birthday. Okie dokie, moving right along into card project number 3. I have this 8x8 scrapbook here that I store all of my stencils in so that I can see them quickly and grab what I need. And I love this little book for my stencils. So I'm going to pull out my Gina K Designs Wreath Builder, and I'm using the 4-inch template. I have a piece of cardstock that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to use my wreath builder, and I'm going to focus on the top corner. Because this piece is bigger than my wreath builder, I'm going to make sure that where I stamp that first leaf, I'm going to continue to move the cardstock through the wreath builder and place that top corner into the wreath builder as I turn it around. If you want to learn more about the Wreath Builder, I will leave a playlist of different Wreath Builder tips and tricks in the description box down below, as well as linked on the screen. So the way this works is you place your cardstock into the template, you stamp your image, and then turn it, and then stamp again, and turn it, and stamp again, and so on, until you end up right back at the beginning and you have a perfect wreath. Now you can add more images or keep it simple. You can just keep going with this technique, and it's so much fun. The Wreath Builder is one of my favorite products from Gina K Designs. So I stamped the first big leaf in 2 different colors of green. I've got grass green and jelly bean green. And then I stamped another leaf in the second layer with honey mustard and prickly pear. And then I stamped a maple leaf right in the center with faded brick ink. Now I'm going to create an area for my sentiment to go on the front of my card. I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and I'm going to make a couple of score lines at the bottom of my card, and then I'm going to flip my cardstock over and score again so that the image is protruding out of the front of the cardstock. I just like that little bit of subtle texture that it gives. So I have a sentiment I'm going to line up. First I thought I was going to line it up on an acrylic block, but I thought I worked too hard at this point to mess it up with stamping with an acrylic block. I decided to move to my MISTI. I got those greetings picked up and made sure they're nice and straight on the door of my MISTI. I inked it up with Gina K Designs Black Onyx ink and stamped a couple of times to make sure I got a nice dark black greeting. And there we go. I'm just going to add this to a grass green card base. And this card is complete. Super simple. Only took me a few seconds to create using Gina K Designs Wreath Builder. Okay, card project number 4. I have a waffle flower stencil mat and a piece of Gina K Designs premium white cardstock. I'm going to ink blend this cardstock, and I have 3 colors of Gina K ink. I have Dusty Rose, Peach Bellini, and Sweet Corn. I have my little ink pad holder here, and I'm going to grab some Gina K Designs ink blending brushes, and I'm going to start with my yellow, and I'm going to ink that up really well, and I'm going to ink blend into the center of this cardstock. So once I get a nice blend with my yellow, I'm going to switch over to my Peach Bellini ink. I also have this silicone mat here. This is a makeup brush cleaning mat I got from the dollar store, and I find it really helps me soften the bristles of my brushes when I haven't used them in quite some time. So then I switch over to the Dusty Rose ink, and I just wanted to create sort of like a sunset kind of feel, and I think I achieved that. So I did Sweet Corn in the center, Peach Bellini around it, and then Dusty Rose around the edge. And now I'm going to take this silhouette stamp from Harvest Silhouettes, and I wanted to create a border all the way around my card. So I just grabbed an acrylic block and I inked my stamp up with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm just going to go around the border of this card, stamping those florals all the way around to create a nice frame around my little sunset in the center. And I just think that's so absolutely pretty. I grabbed a Gina K Designs Peach Bellini piece of cardstock and created a card base. And then I also created a white matte layer. And I just worked backwards because I was worried about that VersaFine ink smudging. I didn't want to flip my card over and tape it. So I figured it all out. I have a sentiment from the Breath of Sunshine stamp set that says, "You are a breath of sunshine." And I'm going to line that up and stamp it right down in the center of my card panel. And I think it's just absolutely beautiful. I love this gorgeous subtle look. Now when I stamped it, I kind of messed up the Y a little bit. I didn't get ink right to the edge. So I grabbed a Copic liner and I just touched up that Y just ever so slightly so that I didn't have to worry about messing it up. That's why I use a MISTI, so that when you come this far, you don't mess it up. So I used some Gina K Designs Angel Aura gems, and I scattered them around my card and around my sentiment, and I think it just brings a cute sparkle to this absolutely gorgeous card. Here's a close-up look at that finished card with all its sparkle and beauty. I really love this look, and creating that border frame all the way around the card really helps stretches your supplies. Alright, moving into our final card, I'm going to ink blend a background. I'm going to ink blend a sunset into a night sky. At this point, I've kept you quite a while on this video. If you're hanging on still, I appreciate you. So I used Sweet Corn, Peach Bellini, I grabbed a Hero Arts purple, this is the soft lilac, and then blue denim, and then in the navy. And I just created a really beautiful gradient look with a nice dark spot at the top, and I think that's really pretty. And then next I'm going to grab the Harvest Silhouettes stamp set, and I'm going to create a little mountain and farm scene. And I really love these style of layering stamps. So for the first image, I'm going to go with my lightest color, and I'm using Gina K Moonlit Fog, and I think this creates a beautiful backdrop for my mountains. So I'll ink that up really well, close the door of the MISTI and press, and then pick up my door, and we have this beautiful rolling hillside mountain in the back. And I think this color is just perfect. Moonlit Fog is such a fun color because it really picks up the different hues of the colors around it. Second layer, I'm going to stamp with Gina K Stormy Skies ink. And then for the final layer, I'm going to stamp with Gina K Onyx Black ink. And I stamped that one a couple of times to make sure I got a good dark black impression. And then there we go. There's our finished beautiful scene. I trimmed this down a little bit and stamped a sentiment that says thankful for you. I grabbed a Gina K Peach Bellini card base because I had it laying around. I decided to mat that background onto a black piece of cardstock and then pop it onto the front of my card. And then for the final touch to this card, I grabbed a Wink of Stella pen, and I used my bone folder and I just smacked the Wink of Stella pen over top of the card. Now you can't see anything, but I'm going to show you up close what this does. This turned out so pretty, and it really helped create a little twinkle as if it was stars in the sky. And when I turn it in the light, you see all that beautiful glimmer and glitter that the Wink of Stella adds to this card. And that's going to be it for this video. Here's a look at all of the card projects that we made here today. I truly loved this kit. I really enjoyed making projects with it. I've kept you here long enough. I could keep going, and I do, but I didn't record it all because it's a lot of work. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. Stay tuned to my channel because we have a Gina K Designs Christmas card kit release coming up really soon, and I'm going to have an amazing lineup of inspiration to share with you. Have yourself a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!